Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, April the 23rd. We still have another week to go in the month of April. Looks like we'll have continuation of some cold air outbreaks into at least parts of the U.S. going into the month of May. We'll kind of take a look ahead at the 850 millibar temperature anomaly maps going into the first week of May. And indeed, there are at least a couple more cold air outbreaks coming for the central and eastern states. That kind of activity will keep the severe weather outbreak on the table here going forward through the remainder of April and into the early part of the month of May. As long as we continue to get pretty cold air outbreaks from Canada into the U.S. or cold air outbreaks from off of the Pacific Ocean into the western U.S., we'll continue to have these possibilities of severe weather going forward over the next couple of weeks. We continue to have pretty strong winds in the upper part of the atmosphere down across the southern U.S. That jet stream naturally kind of retreats to the north this time of the year, certainly going into the month of May, which in turn is kind of a manifestation of less of a temperature contrast across the southern and central U.S. That is not the case yet. So again, we still will have an active weather pattern over the next couple of weeks. This is in fact today's outlook by NOAA's Storm Prediction Center in terms of possibility of strong to severe thunderstorms. Indeed, much the same area that has been hit over the past several days, specifically Texas and Oklahoma, have a chance for some strong to severe thunderstorms today. And that threat will exist all the way up into the middle and northern parts of the Mississippi Valley region. We go ahead to tomorrow on Thursday, much the same region. Again, this is kind of been a battle zone region and continues to be right across the heartland of the nation, with continuation of some cold air masses, again, either off the Pacific or from Canada into the western and central U.S., and it sets up kind of a battle zone region right there. On the west side, you have the cold, dry air. On the east side, you have that warm, more humid air that flows in from the Gulf into the Mississippi Valley region. Well, I wanted to focus in on the outlook for rain over the next 10 days, 2 weeks or so. This is a map don't show often in these videos. The U.S. Drought Monitor map. It's updated periodically every week to 10 days or so, and it shows where the current driest conditions exist. And it's easy to tell that here we're talking about the southwestern part of the nation right now experiencing the most severe drought conditions, from basically southern and western Texas all the way into the southeastern part of California. Now, there are certainly some areas here along the eastern seaboard where it's drier than normal soil moisture conditions. Not too concerned with that part of the nation. I believe this active weather pattern will produce some decent rain events going forward into the month of May. One area of concern, though, is right here. This particular part of the nation is a little bit concerning because of the tropical outlook and the summertime outlook that I posted a couple of weeks ago, and we'll take a look at that. The analog years that I came up with that to me mimic the kind of sea surface temperature pattern that we'll likely see later this summer into the fall, all had relatively dry conditions right across the heartland, this part of the nation. So if you believe those analog comparisons, which I do believe, I think it'll be kind of a hot and dry summer right from Texas up to the Dakotas. So it's not a good thing that you're leading into that early part of the summer season with dry soil moisture conditions already. So this is a little bit concerning here. Again, we'll take a look at those analog years from the tropical outlook, the summertime outlook, in a moment here. This is certainly concerning. That is severe drought conditions out across the southwestern part of the U.S., but that is pretty normal. That's, of course, desert area here in the southwestern states, and there will be some relief when we get into the summer monsoon season. Believe it or not, you typically hear about monsoon season, places like India, where there's some months of heavy rainfall. We have kind of a summer monsoon season ourselves here in the southwestern part of the nation. Monsoon specifically refers to kind of a seasonal wind, And during the, especially the second half of the summer season, we have a kind of a seasonal flow of air from the Pacific Ocean into the southwestern states, pumping in Pacific moisture into the southwestern states. And that typically leads to scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms in that part of the nation. So indeed, yes, very dry right now. Doesn't look like it'll get any kind of a significant rainfall over the next couple of weeks, but later on, as we get into the summer season, there will be some relief in this part of the nation with those monsoonal rains. Now, as I mentioned, I'd like to take a look at the summertime outlook, those specific analog years, the average temperature anomalies, the average precipitation anomalies for those analog years. Going to the home site, the home page of the Arcfield Weather website, just go to Outlooks and then Seasonal Outlooks, and we'll see that tropical and summertime outlook right here. Clicking on that and scrolling all the way down, and we'll take a look here at the analog years, the average temperature anomalies and precipitation anomalies. And again, the area of concern really right across the heartland. Here's the 5 different analog years that I believe featured similar sea surface temperature anomalies that we'll experience later this summer into the fall. This is a kind of a temperature pattern for those 5 analog years. And again, right in the heartland here, hot and dry weather conditions are quite possible. So it's not a good thing going into this potential hot and dry summer with low levels of soil moisture, as is the case right now, certainly across southern and western Texas and up across some of the middle and upper plains here. This is the temperature pattern here. Now let's take a look at that precipitation pattern from those 5 analog years. And here we go with that, again, dry signal here coming from Texas all the way up to the Dakotas. And so we'll continue to monitor that. In the short term, there actually is some beneficial rain likely headed to at least the eastern and central part of Texas over the next 10 days or so. That's a good thing. Hopefully that can continue well into the month of May. But again, this is the area with the possibility of a hot, dry summer right across the heartland from Texas up to the Dakotas. So we'll continue to monitor those drought conditions going forward here. And again, if you want to go revisit that tropical outlook, the summertime outlook, just go to arcfieldweather.com, choose that seasonal outlooks, and scroll on down to the 2025 tropical outlook. This is the forecast map from last night's 0Z run of the GFS for the next 10 days. Total precipitation amounts over the next 10 days. First of all, in the southwestern states, very little, if any, rainfall right there where it's very, very dry right now. It looks like no relief over the next 10 days or so. Again, as we get towards the summer season, we'll get some monsoonal rainfall in this part of the nation. Now, I mentioned a decent rainfall possibility here across the central and eastern part of Texas over the next 10 days. This particular model run suggesting 2+ inches of rain. That's great news. And we'll, of course, monitor especially this part of the nation here where the comparison with the analog year suggests it could be a hot and dry summer. So any kind of rainfall we get here leading up to the summer season will be welcome indeed. Now, throughout the eastern half of the nation, decent amount of rainfall as well here over the eastern half of the nation. And in the mid-Atlantic region, it's been rather dry right now, but I think we'll have a decent rain event coming late Friday night into Saturday. Place like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, perhaps even more than is depicted here by the GFS model. I think that could be certainly more than a half an inch of rain in that I-95 corridor region, in the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, Friday night, Saturday time frame. But really the only dry area without any precipitation at all over the next 10 days, right there in the desert Southwest. Well, at the beginning of the video discussion, we talked about the likelihood for more cold air outbreaks into at least portions of the nation, both originating in Canada and also the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. There have been numerous air masses that have flowed in from the eastern Pacific Ocean into the western U.S. with below normal temperatures, and that will continue to be the case as we go into the month of May. Let's just kind of quickly go forward. These are the 850 millibar temperature anomaly forecast maps by last night's 0Z run of the GFS. Above normal conditions over the next couple of days in the really from the Mississippi Valley on east into the Middle Atlantic region. Certainly DC, Philadelphia, New York City, for example, will experience very comfortably warm conditions today and tomorrow. High temperatures in those areas, 75 to 80 degrees or so. And here we go with another colder than normal air mass moving in off the Pacific Ocean into the western U.S. by the end of the week. And we'll move forward here, and it's quite impressively cold relative to normal by the time we get to the middle and latter part of the upcoming week and throughout the western part of the U.S. Remember, a place like Denver just experienced some snowfall several days ago, and they too will see some colder than normal conditions headed their way late this weekend and in the early part of next week. So here we go. We have that kind of that battle zone region again right in the heartland here, setting up by the early part of next week with that warm and humid flow of air from the Gulf into the Mississippi Valley region, and colder, denser, drier air from the northwest, either from Canada or the Pacific Ocean into the western states, setting up a clash zone there. This is the early part of next week. Much the same area where indeed we have that threat of strong to severe thunderstorms later today and tonight, and again tomorrow, specifically Texas and Oklahoma. Move out a little bit farther in time, and here we are in the middle of next week. This is a week from right now. Look at this impressive cold air mass cutting across the Great Lakes. Kind of a strong frontal system separates cold air to the west, the warmer, more humid air to the east here into the latter part of next week. This is now as we begin the month of May. Next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, May 1st here, and just want to go a little farther in time because the GFS really has an impressive cold air outbreak here that first weekend in May, cutting across the Great Lakes region, dropping south and east right towards the Ohio Valley, the Middle Atlantic region. This is about 10 days or so away. Sunday, May the 4th, again, not quite done yet with those cold air outbreaks, either moving into the western U.S. from the Pacific Ocean or moving into the central and eastern U.S. from Canada, specifically the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Middle Atlantic, northeast U.S. Again, cold air outbreaks continuing right into the early part of May. Certainly, in between these cold air outbreaks, we have very, very comfortably warm conditions, but as long as we have the cold air outbreaks continuing, that will keep the overall pattern relatively active and keep alive threats for strong to severe thunderstorms in parts of the nation. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from the 0Z run of the GFS. Nice weather today and tomorrow across the Middle Atlantic, northeast U.S. Not only plenty of sunshine, but comfortably warm conditions. Again, I-95 corridor, you're talking about 75 to 80 degrees both this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. Now, we do have a little bit of rain coming, a decent and beneficial rainfall into the Ohio Valley, the Middle Atlantic region. Again, we're talking late Friday night, Saturday time frame for the Middle Atlantic region. There'll be low pressure here by the end of the work week here, midday on Friday, over the Great Lakes region. Notice also this Canadian high pressure here over south central Canada as we end the work week. And that rain pushes into the Middle Atlantic, northeast U.S. That low pressure area moves from the Great Lakes into the northeastern part of the nation by Saturday morning. And it has a pretty strong frontal system trailing from that low pressure, surface low pressure area. Cold enough air for accumulating snow, maybe northern Maine into the southeastern part of Canada. And here's that Canadian high pressure that drops south and east by the time we get to the early part of the upcoming week. And that front slides on towards the eastern seaboard during the first half of the day on Saturday. So again, that threat for rain exists up across the northeast U.S. and Middle Atlantic region from Friday night into the day on Saturday, especially during the morning hours. That front slides on through, and this Canadian high pressure takes complete control in this part of the nation for Sunday and Monday. Certainly turns cooler on Sunday compared to Saturday in places like DC, Philadelphia, New York City. But with plenty of sunshine, it should get to pretty comfortable levels here, maybe the mid to upper 60s. Sunday afternoon, DC, Philadelphia, New York City with plenty of sunshine, and that nice weather pattern in the northeastern states continues on Monday as well. Here we are on Monday. That high settles right on top of the Middle Atlantic region, then shifts offshore, and here we go with that active weather pattern and colder air mass that again flows in from the Pacific Ocean into the western U.S. Possibility of some snowfall here during the early part of next week out across the northern Rocky Mountain states. And you see this return flow between the departing high and that incoming low. Right here, a strong southwesterly flow of air, and yes, that means warm, humid air from the Gulf region will flow northward into the Mississippi Valley region. At the same time, some colder, drier air moves in from west to east, potentially setting up another severe weather outbreak later next week, something we'll keep our eye on over the next several days. So the bottom line is continuation of some cold air outbreaks across the nation right into the early part, at least the early part of the month of May. That will keep severe weather on the table here as well over the next couple of weeks. And we'll continue to monitor the drought conditions over the next few weeks here as we head through the month of May and towards the summer season, which again can result in some hot and dry weather conditions right across the heartland from Texas to the Dakotas. That's it for now for ArcfieldWeather.com. This has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.